So it's difficult to know where to begin talking about this next topic. I hope you remember, and I hope you don't mind me reiterating this from time to time. These practices are actually not things you go forward into. They're not things we do in the same sense that maybe we do music or we wash the dishes. They're ways of undoing, of stopping our habitual ways of grasping onto experience, of wanting to change things. And they're a simple letting go and sinking back into what's already and always the case. Um, and I thought we'd just have a little chat about what the practices are then, if not effortful, if not going forward into something. Because, we're not really used to this. As a practitioner of many years, I feel like I'm still getting used to this. This is a practice of undoing that's just, on one hand, so natural because, what we are wants to know itself, wants to recognize itself in every instant. And at the same time, it's so unnatural because we've been brought up in a completely different way to do different things and reach out into experience, to change things, to solve problems. Not to say any of that is bad. It's just that often when people come to meditation, they take that attitude inward and they say, I'm going to change my experience. This is a normal, everyday experience now, but it's going to be one day, blissful and peaceful and enlightened. And it's not like that. It's really not like that. And this is so hard to describe. But I think one way to describe it is to just notice the effort that we are putting into experience right now. This is the practice. Just to notice what kind of effort we're putting into experience right now. So, for example, if we might feel a little tired, oftentimes we tend to sort of shut off, we get a little dull. We may just sort of lapse into, daydreaming and thinking endlessly or scrolling YouTube or, any sort of activity that's sort of mindless and a little bit numbing. And in music, oh man, we do this. Oh man, we'll be practicing and we'll, instead of doing something intentional, just kind of go off and maybe play something I already know in a more or less mindless way. But I want you to notice, as I'm describing this, the feeling, the effort that's actually behind this. Because we don't realize it, but there's a tremendous effort, albeit a subtle one, behind attaching to the conceptual way of thinking and being, behind distracting ourselves. And I just wanted to open everyone to the possibility that maybe relaxing, we normally think relaxing is sort of falling asleep or getting more dull. But perhaps there is a sort of way of relaxing that is letting go of that effort of keeping up a conceptual frame of mind, of letting go every story that appears before we begin to get lost in a daydreaming fantasy, before we feel like we need to distract ourselves with any kind of mind-numbing activity, which is fine from time to time. But just to notice in those moments, when we're practicing mindlessly, when we're relating mindlessly, that it takes an effort to do that. It takes an effort to be mindless. Whereas this is the part that I was trying to describe. It takes no effort, which doesn't mean we just keep doing what we're doing. It means we notice that right now we're making an effort. And in the noticing that there's an effort, we can relax. We can wonder, what would it be like to be even less effortful in this moment? Don't things become a little clearer? a little richer, a little more loving and kind. So that's all that I wanted to introduce. It's less of a practice and more of a reflection. And I hope we can all reflect on this in the coming days or hours or even minutes, whatever we feel like, and begin to sense that life has, well, a life of its own. We don't need to be driving all the time. The awareness that's happening here, the life that's happening here, that we can sense into when we're not trying to make an effort to make it any different than it is already happening. Okay, friends. Thank you so much.